Hi, Veda.
Hey.
Hi. So, what we're going to do today is we're just going to do a little bit of a recording, kind of running through the Q&A session that we did live last night, because the people who came found it really helpful. So, I thought it might be a good idea if we just run through it so that other people can watch it who weren't able to attend last night. So, firstly, what I'd like to do is introduce you. Um,
Hello.
So this is Veda. So Veda takes part supporting me in the groups, the courses that I run. What's been really valuable over the last year, Veda has supported me with the mixed gender groups and the women only groups. As an ex-boarder myself, I had to really challenge the part of myself that was like, you can do everything all by yourself, push on, and then recognized actually it's really nice to have some support. It's really nice to have someone to bounce ideas off from and also to receive support myself so that I can therefore support everyone else better within the group, um, as well as the admin tasks. And Veda and I first met. Um, I think it was 2019. It was just during COVID that we both we were both teaching students on a degree course training to be counsellors. So we began our relationship as such as colleagues teaching. That was how it started, and we used to run groups together. So when I was thinking of who would I trust to come into the space with me, there was, yeah, no doubt actually that we would be able to do this together. So that's my introduction to you.
Yeah.
So how about you? What do you find it like being part of this world and entering? What attracted
Yeah.
you?
Well, it feels like a real privilege. And when I speak about it, I kind of say that I feel like a bit of a spy because I didn't go to boarding school. And yeah, and I think that brings something to the table. Like it can be a little hard, I guess, feeling like I'm not I don't have a shared experience. And so I'm like, am I just here and I shouldn't be? But actually, the feedback has been that having someone who hasn't had these experiences normalized is useful. And seeing, say, some of my reactions to experiences and the ages that you were dropped off at school and things like that. And you've got quite an expressive face and it shows, hey, this isn't okay, this is really hard hitting, and that's been, I think, impactful to the groups.
No,
um,
absolutely. And that's what's really helpful for me. So, as an ex-boarder myself, I have to really keep an eye on myself that when someone might be talking about something they've experienced, I can kind of see myself just nodding because it's like, yeah, of course you did. I get it. Whereas when you've got someone who didn't grow up in an institution, they can kind of be much more, as you say, expressive and going, no, that's not normal. That's really not okay. And I also think there's something incredibly validating about having someone who hasn't gone to boarding school putting their hand up and say, this isn't okay. Because that's so much part of the problem here, that so many people in society have this belief that actually
yes,
everyone's privileged and you've got nothing to complain about.
so much judgment,
Yeah.
and that's not what I'm bringing into the group at all.
Opposite, the opposite of it. Yeah. So that's why I think it's really wonderful actually having someone that didn't go to boarding school in the group and the course. Um, and the other thing you're really good at is timekeeping.
Yes, I do all the timekeeping. So you'll see lots of 1, 2 minutes left or time that so Amelia can give you her full attention and I'm there. Yeah, keeping the structure and moving us on, making sure everyone has equal time and space in the group if they so want it.
Yeah.
And that feels really important because everyone does deserve equal time. Um,
Absolutely. And it's really important and how we manage that without people feeling like they've been told off if they talk too much or talk too little. But to be really upfront about that from the beginning, that the reason for that is to make sure that we don't run over and that everyone feels that they get their equal share. And yes,
and
as
you
you say, I can't listen or be attentive and keep my eye on the clock at the same time. So no, it's really valuable having you there to do that. Yay. So we had a list of questions, didn't we? And thought maybe we'll just run through them. And if anyone watching this has any other questions, then do just send me an email and I'll respond to you or below if you want to post this and do so. So, question number one.
Number one. So, do I have to talk about my past in detail?
So these questions are referring to my 6-month Healing Beyond Boarding School course. And do you have to talk about your past in detail? There is no expectation for you to talk about anything in these groups. Obviously, that's why we're here, and we're here to kind of explore this and unpick this. However, for some people, they feel really able to start talking right at the beginning. For others, it can take them weeks or months even. It's very much about you going at your own pace. Whatever feels right for you, whatever feels comfortable for you. There might be one week where you actually would rather sit back or just listen or not kind of share as much. That's absolutely fine. We always kind of check in at the beginning with how everyone is. And if that week you're feeling like, oh, actually, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, or such and such has happened for me this week, I'm going to take a bit of a back seat, or I'm not feeling so well this week, then I really ask everyone to just let me know what your needs are, what you want, which is important because that's something that children at school don't do, and we kind of work accordingly. So no, there's no pressure to kind of delve deeply and share with everyone what's happened to you.
And knowing your appropriate edge and really respecting that, I think that's what we are
Absolutely.
advocating for more than anything, is like you attending to your needs, feel your vulnerability and respond to it appropriately. And we're here to support that.
Yeah, very much so.
What if there is someone else from my school there?
So people are concerned about this, understandably. In the 5 years I've been running this, it's never happened, which is quite astonishing. But then every time I speak to somebody, they come up with a new name for a different boarding school. I'm astounded how many different boarding schools there are just within the UK, let alone touching on other parts of the world where some people go to school. However, what I do is that when someone signs up, I take the name of the schools that they went to. And if somebody comes along later than they have and signs up, and we discover that they were at the same school at the same year, then what my policy is that I will mention that to each other without giving the names of the person. And I will initially go to the first person that signed up and ask them how they would feel about this. So we talk about it and have a process about it. If the first person who signed up says, no, I feel really uncomfortable about it, then I would tell the person who signs up later, actually, this cohort isn't the right one for you, but maybe the next time come along. So it's really about kind of safeguarding, yeah, everyone and making them feel comfortable enough to do this work. The only time it's ever happened, I had one person who she went to the same school I went to actually, but 10 years earlier. So we didn't actually cross over in that way, but that's the only time that's happened. So we shall see. But yeah.
What happens if I miss a week? Or
Uh,
can I join another group?
what happens? So first of all, because it goes on for 6 months, I expect people to miss a week. Not that that's my intention, but just because life happens and illness happens and holidays happen, etc. If you are signed up so on a day, say if you're taking part in the women's group and there's a midday group and an evening group, I ask people to choose which cohort that they want to be part of. So if you choose to be in a midday group, I ask that you come the majority of the time to that group because it just helps create consistency and connection and trust within that group. However, for the odd occasion, you are welcome to come to the evening or vice versa. If that happens, if you're able to do that. I don't advocate that you swap over. Well, if you're a man, you can't go into the women's group. But that's how it would work. But otherwise, you would just continue and catch up the following time.
Um, I experienced sexual abuse at school. Is this suitable for me?
So, what I ask everyone when I meet everyone before you come onto the course and ask if there's anything that you want to disclose to me, and we'll ask about sexual abuse. And one of the reasons for that is that if this is something that you have experienced, then I advocate that you go and have some individual therapy. So bringing this kind of into the group environment may be really traumatizing for yourself. And also there's a kind of protection. Some people may not have not spoken about this themselves or been aware of it themselves, and we're not able to offer enough containment within the group that is needed for you to really explore this in detail. So it's something that I would advocate and would recommend kind of therapists that you can go and work with. It doesn't mean that you can't be part of the course, but it's something that, although I touch on sexual abuse, I don't go into great detail of it within the course because I think it's something that people need the safety of a one-on-one space to be able to work through individually.
Yeah, this isn't a substitute for therapy,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and we need to, yeah, take into account everyone's experiences, and yeah, that re-traumatizing of self and triggering other people needs to be handled with a lot of care. Um, yeah. What ages are people?
Um, I'd say the average age is 50, 60. Actually. The youngest people I've had were 28. But it's quite unusual for someone to be that young to start to look at this. Usually people come to this because they've had some crisis of some type. It might be a relationship breakdown or midlife where everyone starts to reevaluate themselves. So it's more usual that people are older. I've had many people in their 70s looking at this, even 80. Um, and unfortunately, what's difficult is that, it's only being more widely spoken about now. So this may change within the decades, and actually I know that it is. I know that younger people are starting to kind of become aware of this because of the more books and articles that are written about it. But at the moment, the majority of people are kind of in the kind of 40, 50, 60 age bracket. And what I love about that actually is because something that people miss out on when they go away to school is kind of a family system. Often we miss out on being with people of different generations and different ages. And I love seeing the way that people connect with one another and realize that actually throughout the decades, even if they went to different schools in different countries, um, they all have so much in common in their way of being, which is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Mm.
What happens if I don't like the people in my group?
Well, that's probably quite expected in some ways. Um, so part of being in the group and something that we really kind of explore and look at is the process of being in the group. Because if you take yourself back to that first week at boarding school, when you arrived and you're there with, I don't know, nine other children in your house, in your dormitory, and you're suddenly expected to get on with them all, and they're all completely different, come from different places, different countries, you're not going to like everybody in that place. And somehow you have to find a way to adapt and get along. What I see is that when people first join these courses, they can have, or groups, they can have projections about each other. So they may sit here and look at the person in the top left-hand corner of the screen and they remind them of, I don't know, David from their boarding house, and that person reminds them of so and so, and that person's like that, and da 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 da. And when that person cries, that gets me annoyed and angry. And what I really invite is that all this is kind of out there. We talk about it to kind of think, well, why is it actually that that person's irritating me? So, one hand, it gives us information about ourselves. Why are we finding that person difficult? The other thing is there is someone that you're really finding hard and it's really putting you off coming. I would encourage you to email me and we can have an individual conversation about it and find out what that is about, like whether it is an individual issue or if there is something more that is going on within the group for that reason. However, it's never really happened because everyone who's coming on this course is coming for the same reason. Um, so everyone is kind of stepping into this with a lot of courage and a willingness to look at this stuff, look beneath the lid, be vulnerable. So actually, it's not attracting the people who I think may jar each other in that
No.
way. It's never happened before, has it?
No, and remember, there's Amelia and I both there, kind of creating a safe environment and making sure that we're treating each other with respect.
Yeah,
If it was on the off chance someone was, yeah, behaving in a way that felt
absolutely.
would be
And
there.
actually, speaking about that, in the contract that I do at the beginning, which is to do with confidentiality, one of those uh, points in it is saying, actually, I do not advocate any racism, homophobia, the kind of things that people may find really, really difficult. And if those things were occur, that person would not be able to continue into the group. So there are boundaries with regards to behaviour also.
How do you manage if one person dominates the space?
Um, so we talk about it. We do lots of talking about it. Um, Not necessarily, but there's something about what we look at is when we come into a group, so the group process, that somebody may speak a lot, somebody may not speak at all. And what I encourage is to notice that within yourself. So often the person who actually may dominate or may want to speak a lot, it can often be covering up quite a lot of anxiety, that actually that may be the reason that you talk really quickly and everything. Whereas often people will think, oh, the one who talks a lot, they're really confident and they're really kind of outgoing. But often it's a cover up in that way. So we will all come into a group in our own different ways of managing, often as we did in our family system or as we did when we kind of first went away to school. And so we will talk about that and notice it. The other way we do it is with Veda's handy little timings and fingers, so that we make sure, for example, if there's a checkout at the end, that everyone has the same 4 minutes, and do warnings so that people actually stick to those timings. And we come in and say, okay, it's time now to move on to the next person. And
And I find that lots of people keep their eye on me when they're doing their check-in,
yeah,
so they are actually aware and not wanting to overstep. So
yeah,
it's a real co-created space in that sense, isn't it?
absolutely.
So keeping their eye on me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it takes time sometimes because obviously people can be quite anxious when they come into a group. So sometimes it's quite difficult to start talking and then keep your eye on the time, and that's a lot is down to us to kind of make sure that that kind of happens. Mm.
What happens if I become overwhelmed on the call?
Uh, then a bit like you mentioned earlier, there's something about really advocating that you look after yourself.
Yeah.
So throughout the course, I do quite a lot on how to support yourself, well-being kind of tools, how to help ground yourself. Often in the group calls, we do some kind of meditations or grounding exercises, breathing exercises to help keep us present and in the room in that way that people find really helpful. If you notice that actually something feels too difficult or too much, then you can absolutely take some time out. What I always ask is that you maybe put a message in the chat or you just sent a little note to just say, okay, I just need to 5 minutes, go and walk around the block, put cold water on your hands. That it's absolutely fine to do that. As long as you let us know what's happening so we don't worry about you. That I've had people on the groups who, they may not feel so well. I've had people with backache who felt like, actually, I just need to lie down for a bit or change position. Or I've had someone with long COVID who sometimes just needs to turn his video off because it's too much, sensory overload is too much. And so, because we all know that that's what's going on, it's not an issue. And then he'll kind of come back 10 minutes later, and that's absolutely fine. So it's very much about what we really encourage is you trusting yourself, you knowing what you need at that moment in time, and advocating, as you say, for yourself. Yeah.
Can I have individual sessions as well?
So depending on availability, yes. So both Veda and I would offer an individual session should you feel overwhelmed. Should there be something you think, okay, I just need a one session just to kind of talk through something. So you can reach out to either of us, should that be the case. If you feel like you want kind of further ongoing therapy or something alongside the whole course, then let me know and I can recommend somebody who could offer that for you.
Is it normal to feel conflicted about my time at boarding school?
Yes, really, really normal. Um, yeah, very much so. People sometimes think that none of this applies to them because they enjoyed boarding school or they were happy or it was better than their home life, um, that they weren't abused or they weren't bullied, and therefore, what have I got to complain about? That kind of, I hear that a lot. Um, so all the really kind of terrorizing, horrible stuff that you do hear about that happens for children at boarding school, um, those traumas come on top of the original trauma, which is about being left on your own at a young age before you are ready, to fly the nest as such. And the impact of that is one of the prevailing factors that impacts people as adults. How they are, how they show up in the world, how they are in relationships, how they are with regards to self care, with emotional regulation, expression, um, how your relationships are with your family, with your siblings, difficulties you may have with parenting. These are all the things that we look at. So we look at how the experience of growing up in an institution impacts your behaviour as an adult. Um, in lots of ways, rather than what actually happened at the school, it's actually about being on your own and having your attachments broken from your parents at a young age, I think.
What if I don't remember everything that happened?
That often really worries people, and it might be because of age. You know, memories kind of disappear, don't they? The older we get, it may be because you dissociated when you're a child. Sometimes when things happen that are too traumatic for us to process and make sense of, we find a way to shut them off and to not think about them. Um, what I notice is that when we go through the course, so the earliest parts of the course are when we kind of start at the beginning and we look and we talk about your experience at school. And often what happens is that you may not remember, but then there's somebody else talking about what it was like for them when they were 7 and their first day at school. And often memories get re-triggered for people. And then suddenly they'll go, oh God, I've just suddenly realized, da 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 da. And they get these kind of aha moments. And it's as if the ice starts to thaw and people start to remember things. Um, However, I'd also say it's not essential because what we're looking at is how going to boarding school it affects you in the present day. And what we know is the kind of how your behavior is in the current situation gives us the information about what it was like for you in the past. So if you, for example, in relationships struggle to allow yourself to depend on somebody else, you keep one foot out of relationships, then that gives us an indication that maybe you had to break your attachments with your parents at a younger age than you were ready for. So you may not remember that first day when your mum left you and how you felt in that moment. But what we see is the way that it is played out in relationships gives us that information. So we kind of work with that. That's what we look at. Yeah.
And I have my, I think you might have answered that one. These two, what if I don't want to talk one week and can I have my video off? I think we answered those.
I just
Um,
want to say with the video off, I spoke about the video off kind of if you were overwhelmed or emotionally
mhm.
overwhelmed, but I do ask everyone to have their video on throughout the group, throughout the course. It's an interactive group, so it's not, you can have Zoom calls where people just sit without their video on, but it's really important that everyone's present. And also ex-boarders, it can be a suspicious lot. So actually it can be really hard to build that trust with one another. And so it's really essential for that. And also to do with confidentiality. So there's something about um,
Having the visual and seeing, oh, your door's closed, there's no one in your
absolutely.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I really ask for people, that actually you're not sitting there with your children in the background or your wife, that kind of thing. That actually and again, that's something we really talk about at the beginning with regards to confidentiality, how we can make that safe enough for people. So that's one of the reasons I ask the video to be on for the majority of the time.
How do you protect confidentiality?
Oh, well, that's one area. Touching on that. When you sign up to the course in the welcome, there is a contract that I ask people to sign with regards to confidentiality, with regards to not sharing details that people have spoken about in the group, not using names. You can talk about your own responses, but not other people. So everyone signs that and agrees to that. And also, when we first meet as a group, we discuss it together and we get everyone to visually agree and I suppose commit to one another that this is what they agreed to do. Understandably, we are online, so I can't say everything is 100% safe, but we do as much as possible. And I ask everyone to make sure they have a kind of safe, encrypted, private space, that kind of thing.
Maybe other people had it worse or better than I did. Do I belong here?
Yeah. Um, yeah,
There's no hierarchy of suffering.
no, absolutely. Again, that comes up a lot and it continues actually throughout the course. So somebody may share an experience that they've had that was really distressing, and people's heart can go out to them and think, oh God, but they've had it so bad. I haven't. And
Like,
exactly what you just said, that it's your own experience, what has occurred for you. Often something that happens is people think, oh, but those who went to school when they were 7, I didn't go till 13. So what have I got to complain about? And then if you take that out, and that's a boarding school thing, we're set up against each other to compete, as you say, that hierarchy thing. Whereas actually, we're all looking at your own individual stories, your own experience. And it's not just about boarding school, it's looking at your family setup, the trauma that may have been in your own family system beforehand. I've had people doing the courses who went to boarding school when they were 16 to 18, thinking, well, do I deserve to be here? Absolutely, because of how it has impacted you and shaped you, without a doubt. And I'm just remembering that was like incredibly powerful, actually, for this particular person to really explore that and work through that. So yeah.
not comparing, not comparing the
Yeah,
trauma and the experiences. We're there to kind of hold your
yeah,
experience and honor it and give it space.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And
Okay.
finally, what if I have more questions before signing up?
Then send me an email. That's the way to go, I guess, or send us an email, send both of us an email. So yeah, if there's anything else that we haven't covered that's on the tip of your tongue, then yeah, just send me an email. But I hope that has just helped a little bit, with anyone who's got any concerns about this or intrigue, whether it's for now or another time. All right, Veda, thank you very much for coming on and yeah, going through this. And
Yeah, we look forward to meeting you out there.
you, whoever's out there,
You.
and starting this up. All right. Thanks, Veda. See ya. Bye bye.
Bye.